happy GA Recap Monday. I hope you guys are having a fantastic start to your week. I know I am, aside from the fact that I had to go to the dentist this morning. I absolutely hate the dentist, but I'm pretty lucky in a sense that my dentist knows how to handle me. So I just had a minor freak out, but it was all good. So the big freak out will be Thursday when I have to go back and get a filling. Haha. Not looking forward to needles in my mouth. I hate being numb. I can't feel anything and I can't drink anything and it just freaking sucks. And then, all I want to do after I go to the dentist is eat. I'm starving. I could be in a world of pain and want to eat. I had my wisdom teeth out and all I wanted was cheese fries and milkshakes and Slurpees. It was ridiculous. I couldn't even drink through a straw, but all I wanted was freaking crap through a straw. It's you want everything you can't have, and I'm going to be numb, and so everything's just going to fall out of my mouth. It's just going to be a disaster. I don't even want to think about it, but it's got to be done because it's starting to hurt, so I'm just going to get it fixed and just say the hell with it. I'm getting frustrated just thinking about it. Anyway, we are not here to talk about my dental disaster or I don't even know. We are here for GA Recap Monday, where I am currently recapping the newest episode of Ghost Adventures Aftershocks. And hallelujah, praise Jesus, we have a half-decent, positive-ish episode of Aftershocks. I mean, yeah, someone totally got possessed, but other than that, no one died. There wasn't, ill effects of the possession. I mean, it was sad. There were sad parts, but, no one died, yo. No one committed suicide. No one's, on the brink of financial ruin. It's just not, the massive we've had for, the last 4 weeks. So I'm super, super excited to bring this episode to you because it was funny, and I cried, and I went, oh my god, and it was just, the perfect freaking episode. So we're going to get right into it. Otherwise, I'm going to ramble for 45 hours. I'm so excited. Okay, so this week the guys caught up with the peeps from the Bonnie Spring Ranch and from the Vulture Mine. Now, Bonnie Spring Ranch, though, okay, if you remember, they interviewed Joe Tasso, and he was, all up in the opera house, and they were describing the spirit that they felt there, and they, kept saying that he was angry. So they opened the freaking show with explaining Joe's nickname, which is Angry Joe Tasso, okay? And he got Angry Joe from the GAC because he said angry 11 times in 10 minutes. He was like, are you angry? Why are you angry? Are you angry? And all it made me think of is when you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or a wife or whatever, and they'll look at you and they'll be like, what's wrong? Are you okay? What's wrong? And there's nothing wrong with you. And you're like, nothing's wrong. Well, are you sure? Are you okay? It's over and over and over and over, and you just want to go, shut up. Seriously, if I tell you something if I tell you I'm fine, I'm fine. Don't poke it with a stick. It's one thing, if you don't hear from them all day or something, or if they're acting weird, and you're like, are you okay? And they go, I'm fine. I'm a little tired, but I'm okay. Then leave it the hell alone. I mean, you're going to know whether or not somebody's okay or not. But that's all that made me think about was someone going, are you okay? Are you okay? Really? Really? You don't seem okay. Are you okay? I'm not going to be okay if you don't shut your mouth. Okay? But he got the nickname Angry Joe because he said angry 11 times. It was ridiculous. They had I usually have my little K count. They had the angry count, and it was 11 times. Zach was and he got to his hands, he's 10, and he's holding his foot up for 11. And finally, when they got to the last one, Joe was because it was 11, I got it! It's right here, number 11. Ridiculous. But they were talking about the activity since they left Bonnie Spring. And Joe says that the activity has actually picked up a lot. More and more people are obviously coming to Bonnie Spring Ranch now because the GAC was there, and it's kind of piqued the paranormal interest, which is always great because, I mean, that's generating revenue for them, and they're doing well, and all's well that ends well. And as long as no one gets hurt, it's all gravy. However, it's not always the case because Joe went on to talk about Brian Purdy, who is a tour guide at Bonnie Spring, and they were doing a paranormal investigation there, and something really trippy happened. So they were doing the investigation, and Brian all of a sudden was like, my back hurts. Like, he had this pain in his back. And his son was like, are you okay? He's like, no, I'm not. And he gets up to leave, and he's gone for like 20, 30 minutes. And they come back, and they have the spirit box there. His son has the spirit box. And Brian has now left the room, and he's like across the street at like the saloon. And they have the SB7 spirit box on the table. And they hear a little girl's voice come through the spirit box. And it's creepy. And it's like, who's there? And without missing a beat, the response in the spirit box was like Purdy, but it was mimicking Brian's voice. Now that's creepy AF, because I instantly shot back to Zach talking about the event that they had at Bobby Mackey's, where that wasn't filmed for Ghost Adventures, but there was been clips of it here and there come up where Zach's voice came through the spirit box. Saying, guys, be careful. And it was Zach's voice. Clear as day, it was Zach's voice. And they were having some demonic issues going on. Or some evil issues. And so I instantly thought of that and, like, the effect that place has had on Zach. So I was just like, holy kitty cow. That's creepy. That's cray creepy. And so they find Brian across the road at the saloon, and he is not himself. Okay, his eyes are like this far apart. They are wide as freaking sand dollars, and he is not blinking. Like, I was like, the man is not blinking. It looked like he was having a stroke, which is so weird. Like, have you noticed everything evil, nasty, demonic spirits equal stroke? I have just learned that is what it is, because that's exactly what happened. Evil, nasty spirit equals stroke. Or stroke-like symptoms. But he was just standing. He was just like, I mean, my eyes hurt just watching it, because I was like, oh my God, dude, blink for the love. I'm sitting there like, can you please blink? He was making me blink like excessively, because he was just like, I mean, he looked like, and Zach even said it, and it was the perfect description, is he looked like someone who was just waking up from anesthesia. Like when you're out of it and you're just like, oh, all the pretty colors. Or at least that's me when I'm out of it, when I wake up from anesthesia. But I was just like wide-eyed, and his eyes were wide, and they're like checking him. But like his heart's good. He's not, he doesn't have a racing heartbeat, but he was not himself. And then they go to show another clip, and they're like looking at him, and they're like, Brian, I want to talk to Brian. And they were trying to get whatever was in him out. And his wife was just absolutely terrified. And Brian doesn't remember any of this. He remembers having the back pain, and he remembers like coming out of it. And everything in between that space was non-existent. And he didn't know it until he's seen the clip. And he's like, seeing that fear in my wife's eyes broke my heart, because all she wanted was her husband back. And he thinks that it has something to do with the fact that he typically wears a St. Michael the Archangel pendant around his neck. And he had taken it off to take a shower, and in the rush of getting ready to go to this investigation, he forgot to put it back on, so he didn't have it. And he was tired anyway from rushing, and so he thinks between the exhaustion of getting there, not being protected by his pendant, that he was just really vulnerable to whatever it was, and it just got a hold of him. And finally, Joe grabs him and is like, your court date is expired. You need to leave. And he's like, I don't even know why I said that. Like, it was just all of this spiritual stuff was happening. And he's like, you need to go. You need to go. And Brian had a hold of Joe's cross by his neck, by his hands. And finally, you can kind of see Brian break, and he starts to blink and make contact with people, like actually making physical contact with people. And you could just see in his eyes, like, what is going on? And finally, they get him back, and he's like, I don't remember anything. He's like, I just remember things being like so pretty, and he's like, most people are so drained after their experience, and I wasn't. I was just like on a high. And it's just so weird, because most people are just physically drained. I know that, anytime that I use my abilities as an empath, or I'm like working on something, or working on opening myself up, or, growing in my abilities, I am just like, I could sleep for days. And you can see in the video, he was like, I don't remember anything. Like, he was just fine. And so it's just really weird, I guess, like the effect that it can have on people. And what's even weirder is when Joe went home, he went to take a shower and took his cross off. And when he went to take it off, he noticed that his silver cross was brown. And he's like, you could peel it off. And Zach was like, is it almost like burnt? And he's like, it's almost like what it was, but it was weird. Like, you could peel it off. Like, it was just coming off. And I personally would have flipped the flip out. That's crazy. Like, it makes you wonder exactly what they were dealing with. So, obviously, the spirits at at Bonnie Spring Ranch are active and apparently really angry. But luckily for them, they're not having like any ill effects following everything. They're all doing well. They're happy to be at Bonnie Spring. They don't really, I mean, they know the negative energy is there or there's something there, but it's not keeping them away. And so even though they had this trippy experience, I think overall they're still doing well, and obviously people are still going because they are still having tons of investigations and tons of activity. And so it was a really nice catch-up, aside from the fact that someone kind of got possessed. Guess just another day at the office, right? Now, moving on to Vulture Mine, I personally had so much fun watching this part of the show. This was a damn good catch-up, I'll tell you, because it was not sad. It was sad, it was sad, but it wasn't, like, negatively sad. Like, it wasn't so bad that you're just like, oh, Christ. So, sadly, though, since the guys have been there in 2010, they sold the mine in 2011, and they've shut down all investigation, and they've kicked everybody out that lived there, which meant that Marty Hagen, the caretaker of the mine that we met in the show, and his family no longer live in the mine because they won't let them. That's the sad part. Marty and his family are so connected to the mine. I mean, his mother-in-law lived in the hills for 40 years. And then they just left. They were like, you gotta go. We're gonna do stuff with this. And so it was really hard, because if you remember Marty, you know, he had that experience like in the engine room, or the generator room, or the generator building, I should say, with the spirit that said, I'm not free. And just every time he talked about it, he would just cry. And I cry. I mean, I'm just like, that is so sad that they feel trapped, that they're trapped there, and all he wants them to do is be free. And his wife, Roma, was saying that when they did the show in 2010, Marty actually had cancer at the time. And the mine really helped him heal. It made him feel safe and warm and loving, and he felt, protected, and he felt a protection for the mine. And so it kind of gave him something to focus on, aside from his sickness, which I think is such a beautiful thing. They also interviewed Marjorie Osborne, who is his mother-in-law. This woman is a riot. I freaking love the crap out of this lady. She is absolutely hysterically precious. Zach, I think, is in love with her. They were talking about, she had lived in the home for 40 years on the hills, right? And she'd had experiences while she was there, and, nothing ever really bothered her. And she talks about the woman, the female spirit that was there, in the episode that Zach, had got an EVP of, and then they caught the orb, and Zach had actually seen her. And it was absolutely hysterical, because they were talking about this woman, and they're like, was you ever bothered by her? She's like, no. She's like, I found out that she lived here before I did. And she's like, I wish she would have cleaned the place up a little bit while she was there. And I'm like, and of course they're all just dying of laughter, because this woman's like 90 years old, and she's talking about like this ghost, like cleaning up her house, like while she's hanging out. And it just cracks me up to absolutely no end. And Zach was like, I love you, Margie. I'm going to take you out. We're going to go out tonight. We're going to have a good time. He's like, I don't dance, but I'll dance with you. And he's like, actually, I do dance. And Aaron's like, it's awful. And they were just having a really good moment. It was so nice to just watch an episode of Ghost Adventures Aftershocks and not be like, really? Like, really? That had to happen? Like, seriously? Like, someone died? Like, to see them laughing and just cutting up and having like that moment of just like, we're okay, we're good. Like, that is not a bad place to us. I don't, we don't feel any negative energy. We don't feel any bad energy toward it. And it was just so pleasant to be able to go, oh my God, we got a good episode of Aftershocks. Yay! It was wonderfully pleasant. And they also interviewed Dee Roberts, who's a paranormal investigator there. Now, she's a little more bitter. She's a little pissed off. She doesn't understand why. She's like, I just don't understand. Like, if you want to use it for mining, great. Like, if you want to make it historical, great. But I feel like I've lost a part of my childhood. Like, you've taken away something from me. I've lived in Arizona my whole life, and this has been a part of our history, our livelihood. And now you're telling us, no, don't ever come back. We can't. You're not allowed. And I completely understand that. Like, you have something that you grew up with, and it's so important to you, and it's a staple in your childhood, and you always want to go back to revisit those moments. And when you can't, or when it's taken away from you, suddenly, especially if it's suddenly, then you feel empty, and you feel lost, and you feel sad. And I think that they just wanted to know why, and Zach wanted to know why. And so, at the end of the episode, they had contacted Vulture Mine and the owner of Vulture Mine, and they had like a little statement on the TV. And basically what it was a line of BS, in my opinion. But they basically said that the reason they're not doing it anymore, or they're not allowing anybody to investigate, is that they're getting ready for the mines to be functional again. They actually want them to mine again. And that it's in good hands, it's being taken care of, it's being properly maintained, but for the safety and liability and well-being of everybody involved, they're just not allowing anybody to do it. And I personally think that they don't want the damn attention. Like, they don't want the attention. Like, they want to make money, and that's it at the end of the day. And that, to me, is sad. This is not a place of evil. This is not a place of dark. This is a place of sad. I mean, there was people that, died here in the mines and was trapped and things like that. But their spirits are not mean. They're not negative. If anything, they want a friend. I mean, we all know that Marjorie talked about how she thinks, a lot of them are, they followed her home to her new home where she lives now. And she's like, I didn't want to say anything because I was afraid they're going to lock me up in the loony bin. And Zach's like, honey, if they're going to lock you up in the loony bin, I'm going to go right there with you because I have seen way more than you have, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm sitting here going, if they're going to lock them up in the loony bin, then I'm definitely going. Just saying. Like, trust me. And trust me, there are people crazier in this world than even I am, or Zach, or Marjorie, that really need to be in the loony bin. Okay? Just saying. Just throwing that out there. There are some cray, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs people in this world that needs to be locked away and thrown away the key. So Marjorie, honey, trust me, you have nothing to worry about. If you're seeing shadows and little waves and pool form, it's completely fine. You are safe because there are people far worse off than you. Just saying. So I think that it's really sad that they've closed it down to investigation. I think that it's sad that they're not letting people go up there anymore for whatever reason. But I was really happy to see that overall, everybody in these two catch-ups are doing well, and they are happy, and they are healthy, and they're alive, and they're peachy. So that's all I have for GA Recap Monday. I will be back tomorrow for GA QA Tuesday. Man, that is so catchy. Anyway, where I answer all of your Ghost Adventures related questions about the boys and about the show and about what you want to wear. If you want to know if Zach wears boxers or briefs, I'm sure I could find the answer. Surprisingly enough, I have not gotten those questions. I'm waiting for the day. At almost 5,000 members, it's going to happen. I'm going to start getting the inappropriate ones where I get to giggle and laugh like a schoolgirl. And I'm really excited for that. But we keep it clean here, so I will keep it clean. Okay? Okay. But like I said, I will be back tomorrow for GAQA Tuesday. I will also be back for What Should I Do Wednesday and for GA Flashback Friday. So we have a week lined up of videos for you guys. But until then, stay happy, stay healthy, enjoy the springtime sunshine. It's a little cool here today, but it's still beautiful. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Much love and happiness.